Hi, my name is Bente, I'm the Norse Witch, and today let's have a little chat about spell intentions. But first, Patron shoutout! Thank you really much to Tiffany, Amy, Rhiannon, Dario, Colette, Soren, Diego, Bethany, Tel, Timothy, Bjorn, Scylla, Ash, Lorna, Lucy, and Joss. And now let's hop into the video. So, spell intentions. Why did I feel like I should make a video about it? If you watch any content on YouTube that talks about how to cast a spell, for example, you will hear things like, yeah, and then you take the ingredients and then you charge it with your intentions and then you do your stuff. But it's rarely really explained what charging stuff with your intention is, why you should do it, how you can do it, etc. So I thought that would be quite the nice little how-to video for beginners. But even if you're not a beginner, maybe you will get some cool inspiration, some juicy ideas on how you can charge stuff with your intention. So don't click away just yet. First, I want to get into what spell intentions even are and why you should have them. And then I want to go into just some ideas that I had on how you could charge anything with your intention. And in the end, I also want to get into some of the ideas from the community. I asked some of my friends, for example, how they do it, and I also asked on Instagram. So we will also get into that later. So, what are spell intentions and why do you need them? Spell intentions are basically the aim or the goal of your spell. So, for example, if you need money, you would cast a money spell, and the intention, for example, would be to get $500 within the next month. Or more broadly, to get a raise, for example. That would be a spell intention. And I honestly think why you need them is pretty self-explanatory. If your spell doesn't have intention behind it, if you don't really have a goal for the spell, then what is the spell supposed to do? Doesn't really work. I've heard the phrase intention is everything floating around the internet for quite some time now, and I personally disagree with that. I think it's just not that simple. If it was, we wouldn't need elaborate spells and rituals. That's my personal take on it. I think it's not that simple. Intention isn't everything, but it's very important. I would agree with that. If you don't have a clear intention for your spell, what is your spell supposed to do? You're basically casting a spell for what? That's the question. So, in my opinion, if you don't have a clear intention for your spell, I mean, maybe it will work in some miracle way, but probably in a way very different to what you would have wanted. But what actually happens when you charge something with your intention? For example, a spell. Let's just think about a candle spell and you want to charge the whole thing with your intention. Like you have assembled everything and you want to charge the candle with your intention. What happens? I always feel like there are two explanations for it. One is more an animistic explanation and the other one is, I feel like, more scientific. But in my personal opinion, I mean, this explanation is just what I believe in, it's both. So the more animistic explanation for me personally would be that in my animistic worldview, everything has a spirit. So the herbs I work with have a spirit. The crystals I work with have a spirit. The candle I'm using has a spirit. So I can talk to that spirit and I can tell it what I would like it to do. But please, in a respectful way, like I'm not commanding it around, but I'm like respectfully asking it to do something specific. That is like the more animistic side of the coin, I would say. But the more scientific way I would personally explain it for myself is that everything has energy. Like everything you see is energy. So the herbs you're working with, energy. The crystals, energy. The candle, energy. And everything has a specific frequency in which it vibrates which then leads to the correspondences that we work with. So for example, again, that's just what I think. If you have an herb and this herb corresponds to the element of fire, then it vibrates in a similar way as the element of fire. So everything has this inherent kind of energy that has a specific frequency, and that is where we get the correspondences from. But if you have looked up the correspondences of an herb, for example, they are very broad. There are a lot of things that an herb can do, usually at least like 4 to 6 different things. So if you would just use the herb and not tell it what to do or charge it with your intention, then there's a lot that this herb can do. So how is this herb supposed to know what of these specific things that it could do is it supposed to do? So what I feel like happens if you charge an herb, for example, with your intention is that you kind of fine-tune the energy so that it is not that broad anymore. Like the things that it could do aren't that broad anymore. You kind of fine-tune to this one specific thing that you want it to do. Yeah, it's basically energetic fine-tuning. But yeah, as I already said, I feel like both things conjoined, like the one thing will lead to the other thing. In my opinion, they're not like separate things. They're both happening at the same time. But now let us talk about how do you do it? What are the ways in which you can charge something with your intention? I kind of collected some of my ideas. These are the ones that I will share with you now, and then later on I will go into the ideas from the community. So the first thing that I really like to do is using my own voice, and that is like this literal telling the herb or the crystal or the candle what to do. You could do it just by talking to it, but of course you could also use chants, for example. A lot of people like to use chants. So one really basic thing that you could do is, for example, take up the herb, connect to it, and then just really basically telling it what you like it to do. Or you could chant over it or anything like that. And something that I really like to combine it with is using my breath. Breath is life, we all know that. What I like to think of is that I'm kind of collecting my own energy in my core, and then I feel like I'm inhaling very deeply, and then I kind of visualize my energy being transported basically out of my body with the exhalation. And then with the exhalation, I would visualize my own energy with the words that I'm using combined, like entering the object that I want to charge. That's something that I really love to do. I also really like to use that to ask my tarot cards or my runes or my pendulums questions. Maybe that's because it makes me feel connected to Odin, because Odin gave us the breath of life. Maybe that's it. I don't know, but I really love doing that. The next thing, of course, is visualization. Visualization is never missing from videos. You could use visualization to charge your objects with intention. It's mostly used in combination with other techniques. So for example, visualizing while you are chanting over an object. What you could do is you could visualize, for example, the intention as it has manifested already. So if you want to manifest money, then you could visualize that you already have that money and kind of, visualize that this image of you having this money already enters the object. That's, for example, something that you could do. Also, something that I feel like is really popular is basic energy manipulation. For example, to conjure up this energy of your intention in your own body, like to fill your own body with this intention and then to hold your hands over the object or touch the object and kind of transfer this energy from your own body through your arms, through your hands into this object. That's something that a lot of people do. And it's also combinable with chants, with visualizations, with anything. I also really like to use the energy ball visualization for this energy manipulation. I think I got it from the book Psychic Witch. I think it's used there, where you basically form a ball of energy and you fill this ball of energy with different types of energy. For example, with a planetary energy or with the elemental energy, and then you kind of merge this ball of energy with the object that you want to charge. If you're, for example, doing kitchen witchery and you're maybe making a soup or you're just making a tea or a coffee, you can also stir your intention into it, clockwise if you want to attract and counterclockwise if you want to banish something. It's mostly also combined with, for example, energy manipulation. Then you would kind of transfer energy through your hand into the spoon and then stir that in, or with visualization or with chants. Again, you can basically combine all these ideas. I also really like to use my emotions when charging something with my intention. I'm a really emotional person. I'm a Pisces moon, so I feel everything. Everything is feeling, everything is emotion. So I really like to kind of put myself in the state of feeling that I would be in if the intention had manifested. So for example, if I would want to manifest 1,000 euros, I would imagine that I already have these thousands of euros, and I would kind of feel the emotions attached to that and then use that to charge the candle or whatever. For me, that really, really works. So maybe if you're a water sign or you have like your moon in a water sign, then maybe that would also work for you. And the last thing that I could think of was using kind of a carrier for your intentions. So using all these other ways, you could maybe charge some herbs and some crystals and a sigil, for example, or whatever you want to do, and then use this carrier thing to charge other objects. Something I use, for example, is a big clear quartz cluster. Clear quartz is great for just being charged with any intention and just holding this intention and this energy for a very long time. So using a clear quartz cluster, you can charge it and then you can put stuff on it, and that will charge the objects that are on the crystal. You can also use a sigil, for example, charge the sigil with your specific intention and then put stuff on the sigil and create the sigil in a way that if you put stuff on it, it will charge the object on top of it for whatever purpose. I could imagine, for example, that working really well with charmed jewelry. If you, for example, want to charm a jewelry for protection, and you could create a sigil for charging something with the intention of protection. And then every night you go sleep, for example, put whatever jewelry it is on the sigil so that it is charged overnight. Kind of like charging your phone at night. And now let us come into the community ideas. First, I will get into some ideas of some friends of mine. For example, one friend of mine rubs their hands until they feel like they're pulsating. So she feels the energy in her hands, and then she would hold her hands over the object and then talk to it, so charge it with her voice. So also a combination of energy manipulation and using her voice. But I really like the idea of like rubbing your hands until you feel the energy in your hands and then using this energy to charge the object. Another idea from a friend of mine was also to hold the object in her hands and then visualize a light that is going through her arm and then into the object. And now let us look at Instagram. I wasn't smart again, and I posted the question like 2 hours ago or something, so I didn't expect many responses. What do we have here? Holding the item and speaking my intention aloud. Yeah, I feel like that's a really popular thing, like having something in your hands and then speaking to it and telling it what to do. Moonlight. Yeah, I mean, you can charge in moonlight, but I don't know how you would charge something with your specific intention in the moonlight. Maybe my question wasn't really that clear. I get myself into a trance-like state by chanting my intention and also visualize my energy in... Did I get a message from them afterwards? No. Okay, so a combination of chanting and visualization and energy manipulation. Yeah, just using your voice and visualization seems to be really popular. Using the 4 elements. I asked this person specifically how they meant that, and they wrote me that they would use the energy of the elements or maybe also the planetary energy that would correspond with their spell intention and then charge the object with those energies. I also sometimes do that, and I really like this approach. And then lastly, we have actually dancing, which I found really interesting because I've never thought about that before. It actually makes a lot of sense. And that actually got me thinking because I knew the concept of trying to dance your animal spirit guides to kind of connect to them. So maybe you could dance or try to dance your intention to build up the energy and then put that energy in the object. That would be really interesting. I'm not a dancer, so I could never do that, but I think that's a fascinating idea. And that is all the ideas that I got from the community. Again, I asked pretty late, so I bet there are still a lot of ideas floating around out there. So if you feel comfortable sharing that, feel free to share in the comments how you like to charge stuff with your intention. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give a thumbs up and maybe follow me on Instagram or on TikTok, or check out my online shop, or maybe even consider becoming my patron. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!